Hi everybody. It's fantastic to have the opportunity to be able to share with you all this evening. As you can probably see, it's broad daylight here in Arusha, Tanzania, where it's only about 2 p.m. And thank God for technology that we can do this in these crazy times. Yeah, I'd like to say a huge thanks to Peter for your wonderful comments, and Cicelina, beautiful reflections. Damien, your music, what a powerful way to open this event, and very grateful for it as well. I have worked at the School of St Jude now for 3 years, since May 2017. And it's been the most profound experience of my life so far. It was founded in 2002 by a woman from New South Wales named Gemma Sissia, who had a dream of fighting poverty through education. So St Jude's educates 1,800 of Tanzania's poorest and brightest young people. They're all means tested, and then their academic ability tested before they can gain a scholarship to come to the school. And the whole idea is that eventually they'll be able to lift themselves and their family out of poverty. So it's a fantastic initiative, and I'm very grateful to work here and be a part of it all. While it sounds fantastic and it is a lot of fun and it's a great adventure, it's often very challenging. I've had many spiritual droughts while I've been over here. I have a lot of time of solitude, which is fantastic, but it also gives me a great chance to reflect. And Peter, especially what you were saying about the Holy Spirit breathing into us. Myself, I'm a writer. I call myself a poet by accident. I'm quite a lazy poet. I don't sit down with great discipline and write my poems. I feel like the Holy Spirit or something greater than myself breathes them into me, and then they spill out into the notes app on my phone, and there they are. So I'd like to share a few of them with you this evening. This one is called Renewal. It was a reflection over Easter time. I wrote it, and it's based on the times we currently live in, I suppose. So Renewal. One day we'll roll away the boulder, rise from our room, crack open our cocoon. The air will feel soft on our skin. We'll taste its cleanliness. We'll hug each other. We'll dance in the rain. We'll play in the streets. We might walk more gently, even cautiously, uncertain about the world that has renewed itself for us. We are the Easter people, rising together someday soon. This next one hit me as I was jumping off of a local bus. The buses here are packed full of about 30 people when they only have capacity for about 15. And the earth was damp, it was wet season, but we live in the shadow of Mount Meru here, and the mountain was clear. And it's a great, I hope it will help transport you to this place I inhabit. It's called Two Worlds, One Path. Wait for me by the roadside, next to the mama grilling corn, across from the man selling fruit, where goats roam free with the Maasai, and the Maasai tread carefully on muddied road, wearing Nikes and draped in traditional red garb. Wait for me by the roadside, where the sound of shrieking preachers meets gospel hymns, an Islamic call to prayer, and bongo tunes, and sometimes also Ed Sheeran. And of course, a chorus of playing children and bustling travellers, producing an orchestra of love. Wait for me by the roadside, in the shadow of a mountain, round the corner from a school, where dreams become reality, in a country where dreams are one's few precious treasures. Wait for me by the roadside. I'll jump off the minibus with half a dozen others, then we'll all walk together, going the same direction in one way or another, and you'll see the most beautiful view, two worlds meeting on the same path. This next poem is an ode to my education. I was educated at St Aloysius College in the Mercy tradition. Catherine Macaulay is the founder of the Sisters of Mercy, and one of the small trinkets I brought with me when I first moved to Tanzania was a book of her quotes. And in these times of COVID-19, I've been reflecting on what would Catherine do. So that's the title of this poem. If you don't know her now, please Google her after this. Catherine Macaulay, woman of mercy, would have scolded those hoarding toilet paper and given her own last roll instead. Can't believe I've just written the words Catherine Macaulay and toilet paper in one sequence. This is evidence of our strange times. Catherine Macaulay, woman of joy and kindness, woman of knowledge, wealth, who always gave her stock and spirit to those in need. Woman of hope, compassion, determination. In these times of trial, I plead with Catherine, guide me, sister, as you always have. And then I'm reminded, as she had said, that we should all be shining lamps, giving light to all around us. Catherine Macaulay, 1778 to 1841. This next one is a reflection on the silence and the solitude that I have previously mentioned. Sometimes I love the solitude, it's fantastic. I'm an extroverted introvert. I like my own space. I also like people but need time to reflect. And this one I wrote while I was recently in 14 days of self-quarantine. It's called Comfortable Silence. I let myself be silent, though it never really is here. There's shrieking and singing in a nearby church, people praying as best they can for a better world. Then the band of local dogs raises its song, a collective discontented howl. And for a moment, I wish to join. Then a flock of birds, sky high, passes my window, a large, neat arrow shooting in the direction of heaven, chirping together, reminding me that not all is disturbed. I let myself be silent, and the world delivered me a hymn. I wrote this next poem it came to me while I was on the back of a motorbike, and I immediately came home and had to write it down. Motorbike taxi is a common form of transport here, and I was on the way back from the dentist, as you do, and stopped in the village to grab some fruit, and then a little girl from nearby the school who lives in a mud house ran up to me and we walked home together. This is called Greetings. I wonder, as we drive beneath the village church's spire, if God's in there, like really in there. I wonder because moments ago, I felt God pass through my hair with a dusty breeze. And then I saw God as a mama with a basket on her head and a baby on her back. And then I touched God when God came running, poked me on the waist, grinning, held me in welcome childlike gaze, then offered a tiny outstretched hand and walked me almost home. This is a poem of a different kind. I didn't intend it to be a poem. It was more a journal entry and it was stream of consciousness, but it took a more artistic form. I was not in a great space when I wrote it, but on reflection, I'm grateful that I did. It's called Grace. When Sunday's preachers hush and howling dogs retreat, and the choir of rustling leaves refines its tune to a whisper, I too, against my common wish, go quiet. Podcast this, Netflix that, Fleetwood Mac. My usual antidote to silence. I'll store that remedy away today. Sitting without even noisy trees for company means letting thoughts in. Reluctant thoughts, capital letters. An album of hymns and protest songs best listened to alone. Thoughts, both the articulation of experience and of illusion. Let's drop the needle on the record and play some mind songs, shall we? The first thought I dwell on is odd. I remember that Mum wanted to name her daughter Grace. And perhaps Mum thought, when her daughter Grace Kelly introduced herself to someone new, a movie star would come to mind instead of my mother's invaluable creation. Record halts. Maybe Mum should have named me Grace Kelly after all, so that then people could be distracted by the image of a movie star instead of me. Catch that one, throw it in the jar. A friend once told me to catch negative mind songs and throw them in a jar. Catch the sadness before it's trapped between your vocal cords, becoming the only tune you sing. Silence ain't all it's cracked up to be. Cracks. Leonard Cohen wrote about those. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Good one, Leonard. Very true. I'll open my mind a crack wider this time. And just as I do, the noisy preacher starts again. outside my room, his words antagonizing a band of local dogs and rattling the trees. It's a blessing though, because my record starts to whir again. Reluctant thoughts re-emerge, and this time plays a song more beautiful than the sound of silence. And its lyrics go like this. In 12 hours, children will fill a playground just beyond my window. It will be Monday and I will be weary, but I will be happy. And I will see grace at work, drowning out the sound of dogs with youthful cheer and breaking the friction of the leaves. As for the Sunday preacher, he said his piece, and now it's time for God to speak. I'd like to leave you this evening with a poem that is not my own. It's from my father, John Kelly. He's a much more accomplished writer than I am. I wanted to write a poem about Pentecost, but couldn't find the words. And I think that my dad's piece about Pentecost sums it up. So this is called The Day Fire Fell by John Kelly, based on Acts chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. No fluke that morning when fire fell, it rained in tongues. For tongues are made to savour and to speak what flames and burns in hungry hearts and minds, quickening them to tell and to aspire, so that hearers might catch and spread the fire. I hope and pray that wherever you are today, you are safe, well and healthy, and that you stay that way, and that you spread the fire that is within your hearts. And thank you very much, Koya, for the opportunity to be connected like this evening.